We saw in John chapter 18, verse 1 through 11, Jesus is arrested in the Garden of Gethsemane. So the time has come for Jesus to be glorified, he says in John 12. And his glorification takes place through his death, through his humiliation. Again, it's the exact opposite thinking of the way the world thinks. The world thinks you look best when you're the highest. That's not the way God sees things. God says you look best when you humble yourself. Jesus could have at any time called down 12 legions of angels. He could have any time gotten away. He could have let Peter, cut off Malchus's ear and let him fight for him and get his disciples and riled everyone up. But he didn't. In verse 11 of John 18, Jesus said to Peter, "Put the sword into the sheath. The cup which the Father has given me, shall I not drink it?" God demonstrated his own love towards us in that while we were good people, he died for us, but while we were sinners, while we were enemies of God, he gave himself up. So we officially have, after these 3 Jewish trials where they find no evidence but declare him guilty, 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 we officially have what John chapter 1 says, he came to his own people and his own did not receive him. He's rejected by his own people. They want him dead. They declare him guilty. John chose certain things. He says, I chose these things so that you would believe that Jesus is the Christ and that believing you might have life in his name. So he was very specific. I chose to tell this part of the story so that you would believe in Jesus. Jesus was put to death even though he was innocent. And you might take that for granted, but that's actually a really important point. If Jesus was guilty of a crime that was worthy of death, we're still in our sins. If Jesus was crucified because he was guilty, he died for his own sins, well then who's paying our penalty? He was paying his own penalty. 1 Peter chapter 2 says he committed no sin. He was killed even though he committed no sin. And then we'll really see this today. We'll see his innocence from the Jews because they are corrupt. And we'll see his innocence from Pilate, where Pontius Pilate actually tries Jesus and declares this man is innocent. Interesting to note how carefully the Jews followed every jot and tittle of the Mosaic Law. Every detail of the Mosaic Law, even things that weren't in the Mosaic Law. They followed it so carefully that they weren't even following things that were in there. Again, the Mosaic Law didn't say anything about going into a Gentile's house defiling you, but they were so careful about these laws. We don't want to defile ourselves. Well, at the same time, they're improperly putting to death the Son of God. I'm so focused on these external rules and this external defilement and the Mosaic Law, and we got to keep it so perfectly, but they're putting to death the point of the Mosaic Law. It even mentions here that they want to eat the Passover meal. They're putting to death the true Passover lamb. We're told from the book of Hebrews. So you can really see the hypocrisy here. I think that's why John includes this personally. But it's ironic. The law was written to point people to Jesus, and they seem to follow the law, but at the same time, they're putting to death the writer of the law. It's very ironic. You can see their true nature. You can see how blind the Jews are to the truth. Focus completely on the external when their hearts, what does Jesus say? He says, on the outside, you look great. You've cleaned the outside of the cup, but inside, you're dirty. You're full of dead men's bones. Our citizenship is in heaven, where we look forward to his kingdom here on earth. So again, verse 37. This is why I came, to be king, to testify to the truth. Bear witness to the truth. And 2 things, we're almost done here. 2 things I want you to notice about the truth here. He came to testify about the truth. The first thing I want you to notice is that there is absolute truth. And it's kind of sad that you won't have to say this, but in our day today, you have to say that. There's a lot of people you'll talk to on campus who say there's no such thing as truth. Your truth is just as good as my truth. What's true to you might not be true to me. That's not the truth. There is absolute truth. There is a reality of how the universe works, of who God is, and of our sin, and it doesn't change. It comes from outside the world into the world. The world doesn't think it up. You don't think up your own truth. There's not a truth for you and a different truth for me. Every person, regardless of race or gender or anything, has the same truth, the same reality. That's the first point I want to make. is there is absolute truth. And number two, that absolute truth can only be found and understood through Jesus Christ. He is the only access to that reality, to that truth. John chapter 14:6, Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me. And that's why Jesus came into the world, was to show this truth. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. He gave us truth to illuminate the way things really are. That's what light does. It shows the reality of who you are. It shines the light. It shows you. And that's what Jesus Christ did when he came to earth. He shows reality, the reality that you are a sinner, that there's a penalty for your sin, there's judgment for your sin, and that Jesus Christ paid the penalty for your sin. And if you trust in him, if you believe that truth, he becomes your king. You're guaranteed a place in his future kingdom. So that's what he came to do, was to testify to the truth, to shine the light for his people. Verse 37, and everyone who is of the truth hears my voice. So there's a direct correlation between your relationship with the truth and your relationship with Jesus Christ. If you believe the truth, you hear Jesus' voice. There is no one who knows the truth who doesn't believe in Jesus Christ. Truth and Jesus Christ go hand in hand. Again, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me. So if you reject Jesus Christ, you're living in a figment of your own imagination. You're not living in reality. You're making up your own stuff. You must be connected to Jesus Christ. You must hear his voice. Be part of his kingdom. Have him as your king. So we see Pilate's response. So Jesus has essentially shared the gospel with Pilate. He's on defense for his life, and he takes that opportunity to not just defend himself, which he did a pretty good job, but he also uses it to share the truth. Pilate, even you, I want you saved. Hear my voice, and you'll know the truth. The truth will set you free. Verse 38, Pilate said to him, what is truth? And when he said this, he went out again to the Jews and said to them, I find no guilt in him. So again, that's Pilate's conclusion. Pilate runs a trial, a legitimate trial, and he determines no guilt. Zero guilt on Jesus Christ. But what is your response to the truth? Again, it's kind of tragic, Pilate's response here. Pilate's conclusion after the Son of God is before him, expressing the truth, testifying to the truth, his determination, his conclusion is, what is truth? There's no way you can know the truth. Everybody has their own opinion. There's no way to know what's absolutely true, what isn't. That's a tragic answer. And unfortunately, that's the conclusion a lot of people, maybe in this room, have come to. I don't know the truth. What is truth? There's no way that you can possibly know. You can know the truth. The truth is Jesus Christ. So do you hear his voice? Are you of the truth? Are you part of his future kingdom? Are you a citizen of that kingdom? Is he your king because of your relationship to the truth?